In this video, I'm going to be showing you the complete system for generating consistent leads from YouTube in 2026. And this is a full-length lead generation course for completely free. And this is the exact same process we've used to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue for business owners using our YouTube to clients content funnel system. To mention a few, Kai went from 17K to 75K per month. Kira made 13K in the first 7 days. Stedman made 40K in 45 days, including 28K from a single video. So this isn't going to be your basic just find outlier topics video. I'm going to show you exactly how to turn your YouTube channel into a lead generation machine so you can finally stop relying on ads, outbound sales, and time-consuming marketing tactics. This video will show you the exact step-by-step process you need to follow so you never have to watch another video on how to actually get clients from YouTube again. Let's dive in. So first, let me be clear, who is this for? So this is for agency owners if you're trying to get clients for your high ticket offers, coaches, consultants who are tired of ads, info product sellers wanting to actually scale up, B2B businesses selling high ticket services. That can be pretty much anything, right? As long as it's online. And yeah, as long as you're one of those, what we're going to talk about in this video will work. So YouTube reality in 2026, where are we at right now? The simple truth is you don't need millions of views to make money. That's the underlying factor. You know, we have clients that get 1K to 5K views and they make 6 figures per month from YouTube because the quality of leads that convert is so much higher than what you actually think you need, because we focus on quality leads that convert rather than vanity metrics, which means strategic use over entertainment content. So as I said, you don't need thousands and thousands of views. All you need is the right views from the right people. So here's why most B2B businesses fail, and it has nothing to do with video quality or production value. The real problem is the misalignment between content and client needs. So a lot of people can record videos in super low quality and still get better results. If you took Iman Gaji right now, gave him an iPhone, he'd probably start a whole YouTube channel without even having his name to it and get better results than the average business owner. They understand what type of content to create. And a great example of this is Charlie Morgan. His content when he was starting out was super low visual quality, and he was able to get results simply because of the fact that his messaging was dialed. Now that's not an invitation to go create low quality videos and just do the whole raw style thing just because I said that. But what it does mean is that the most important factor is what you're actually saying and your strategy, not things like high production value. However, if you can, do both, like actually make your videos watchable and have value, you'll obviously do better than both of those. So when it comes to your actual offer that you're selling on YouTube, you have to have the right offer. So if you don't have a clear offer that, actually solves a big problem for the people who are watching the videos, they're not going to buy it. It doesn't matter how many views you get. It doesn't matter how good the channel strategy is. If the offer sucks, no one's going to buy it anyway. So your offer must solve a specific high value problem, avoid generic services. And this is the problem with a lot of these like business coaches you see like posting these generic ass YouTube videos. Their whole offer is, I'll help you grow your business. Like, what does that even mean? You need to have a specific offer. It must be validated with existing clients, and you must test the messaging with 5 to 10 people in your ICP fit. So a good offer is, I will scale up your B2B SaaS with paid ads in the next 90 days. And then you can make it even more specific than that. You have a specific niche and we work with someone in that niche, and you're actually giving them a time frame. So offers like that do really well, right? Once you have the right offer, we need to actually create YouTube videos that are going to solve problems and answer objections that the viewer has. They're not just going to, go to your videos and buy from you. We need to now convince them that you're the right person. And the main thing here is that there are 2 objections to overcome, and these are the main 2. It's always selling your mechanism / business model, and then selling yourself as the expert. So an example of this is, let's take Brez Scales as an example. He came out with a new business model. Obviously it's not, it's just SMMA services with a fancy name, but now he has to sell people on the business model. So now you're creating videos. What is freelance brand scaling? Why is freelance brand scaling the best new thing to start? Etc, etc, etc. You're selling people on the fact that it works. And this is extremely important whenever you're doing a biz op, which a lot of people in the online space do. People are skeptical. And if you're the guy coming with a new thing that's, this is the new way to make money online, you really need to convince them that this shit actually works. And this is something like TikTok Shop. When that first came out, so many people were skeptical. But then you saw creators selling courses around this, and they would create content that would educate the viewer into what this actually is, how it works. Because that way, you're not selling them on you still, you're selling them on the business model. You're selling them on why they should care about the thing that you are selling, right? So that's the first thing. And then selling yourself as an expert. As I said, they need to trust that you are the right guy to come to. And this is just gonna come down to, how do you show your expertise? What kind of content are you creating to show that you're the right guy to go to? And this, we'll get into it, but that's content that shows past results. That's content that goes deep and really shows your expertise, where you talk for a bit longer. Maybe that's creating a free course like this, something like that, right? Then we have market awareness levels. So this is basic marketing, but we need to cover this because we need to understand how YouTube really works and what types of videos you need to create for different levels of awareness in the market. It's the exact same thing with paid ads. So we have level 1, which is least aware. They don't know the opportunity exists. They need education. And this is where you're selling the mechanism / business model, right? Then we have level 2, which is moderately aware. They know they have a problem. They need tactics. So a good example of this, let's go back to that B2B SaaS, is they're trying to scale their B2B SaaS. They know paid ads are the way to go. You sell a paid ads, consulting program. Now you need to create content that shows examples of how this would work, like going detailed into launching a Facebook ads campaign, showing results. This is just convincing them that you are the right person to go to and showing them specific tactics for that methodology, right? They know the shit works. They just need you to actually show that you're the expert in that sense. And then we have most aware, and these are people that are deep in the space and they're just seeking optimization. So depending on your industry, it's gonna differ towards where most people are on this spectrum. Once again, if you're selling a biz op, most people are going to be here. It's a new thing. They don't know the opportunity exists. You need to teach them. If you're selling something that's service that everyone knows about, so for the most part, I'm going to be teaching here. Maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if I was creating YouTube videos, I would be teaching a lot of this stuff because most people did not know that YouTube was a great lead generation system years ago before Iman Ghazi, Charlie Morgan, and all these guys really started talking about it. So now most people, we have to create content saying why it's better than paid ads, why you should start YouTube, etc. For the most part, YouTube works. I don't need to teach you that. Same thing with paid ads. And I'm starting off with a hook like YouTube works. So the split of content that you're creating for these types of awareness levels needs to very much be based on your actual market and the actual market sophistication that we are in right now for your specific industry. So going back to the B2B SaaS example, just because we can use it, they know they need Facebook ads. They know it works. Facebook ads is a proven methodology. It's not some new thing. It's a proven strategy. Just creating content around specific tactics within that system, right? I have written here that your content strategy must address all 3 levels. As I said, you're going to prioritize the awareness levels. For the most part, your viewers and people who would buy from you are already in. Once every while, I'll create a video that's around the least aware. For the most part, once again, it's here. So step 1, once we're actually launching a YouTube funnel, we need to know who we're actually targeting. And this is, coming up with your audience avatar. And the main way we do this, like off the bat, is obviously, we're going to look at your existing data, but competitor research is always great. And a great tool that we like to use is 1 of 10. That'll give you outlier examples, but what it also does, it allows you to just find channels, right? So you can do this by just searching on YouTube. Let's say B2B SaaS, search B2B SaaS, find all the channels. I like to do it this way with the outliers, not because we're not getting into ideation yet, but what we're doing is it finds people creating content who are actually creating good content. So if they have an outlier, that probably tells them, or if they have a consistent amount of outliers, that's an active channel. That means they're actually doing something right. Rather than just finding random people on YouTube, we want to find people who are actually doing well. So, as I said here, identify 10 channels in your niche that are actively, I say here generating leads. You could say generating views, because obviously you can't tell how much leads they're generating just from looking at their channel, but you'll be able to tell. Is this guy getting views? Does he have a good offer? What are the comments saying? You'll be able to tell that this person's getting results. And then what we like to do is study most popular videos for patterns. So this is just figuring out the underlying factors of what makes these videos work. As I said, we're getting into the ideation process a bit further down the line, but in the research stage, we just want to realize, okay, what makes someone click? What is something that we are seeing, a type of format, type of psychological aspect in the title or thumbnail that's really getting people engaged with this niche of content. And that's what we're identifying here. Now, vidIQ, I've written here to identify outlier videos. You can do this with 1 of 10. We use both sometimes, so feel free to use whichever one you want. And then analyze metrics highlighted in thumbnails/titles. So as I said, we want to identify the winning elements of competitors in your niche so we can reverse engineer that towards your specific strategy. Because if you're going to YouTube, you're going blind, you're going to fail. A lot of people have gone through a lot of trial and error to figure out certain things that have worked in an industry. It would be stupid not to use that to then go reverse engineer our strategy for your channel. So a key focus, as I said, what's working for similar businesses. Next thing here is psychographics and ICP. So just to touch on some basic stuff here for anyone who isn't aware. Demographics, basic stuff like age, gender, location, income, necessary but not enough. Then we have psychographics, which is the gold, and this is what we really want to focus on. And this is what keeps them up at night. These are the pains. What are they aspiring to? These are the desires. What are they afraid of losing? These are the fears. What motivates them? These are the motivators. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a strategy document that we made for a client. I'm going to walk you through this as a real example. So here I've got the strategy document pulled out. It'll have to be pixelated, the name of course, but we're going to walk through what we have written in terms of the demographics and the psychographics. And we create these documents for our clients as soon as we onboard them, right? Every client, we make sure that we are actually writing this out, because without it, you're kind of just coming up with stuff without a clear roadmap in terms of what we're trying to target in terms of the psychographics and demographics. So as you can see here, age range, gender distribution, geographic, this is all pretty basic stuff, right? This is the general idea of who we're trying to target. Then we move into the psychographics. Pain points, key desires, core fears. These are the big three. Now, just for some context on this client, he teaches financing advice for Christians, right? So primary pain points is financial stress despite good income. So, he targets people who, as you can see here, income level, $70K to $200,000 per year. So they're already making decent money, but they're struggling with finances. And as you can see here, in industry/profession, professional careers, entrepreneurs, mid to high income earners. So you need to know exactly who you're targeting. Then obviously, as I said, a pain point here is they're making good money, but they don't feel good about it. They don't manage their finances to the point that they can understand their situation and feel proud. So then the next one here is shame and guilt around money decisions and perceived failures. Struggle to align faith values with practical money management. As I said, this offer is kind of two-parted. It's the finance side of things and the faith-based side of things and how they align. So that would be a pain point for someone. Then key desires, financial peace without restricting income, without restricting lifestyle, or feeling constant guilt, clear path, and then you get the rest, honoring God with finances. Core fears, making financial decisions that dishonor God, never breaking free from debt, missing opportunities. So you really want to have these written out, because every single time we write a script and every single time we ideate a new video, we're keeping these in mind, because if a video is not addressing at least one of these, the video is useless, because these are the things we're trying to tackle. These are the things we're trying to create videos around. And then actually going back a step, we can see here we also write out the market awareness level. So for the most part, these people are problem aware. They know they have financial issues but aren't clear on solutions and required approach. This is how we tackle the content strategy. We need to create solution-aware content that bridges biblical principles with practical financial strategies. So you need to have both of these written out. You need to understand what level of awareness you're tackling, and you need to understand how you're tackling these psychographics. So going back to the presentation, how do you actually find your ICP online? So there's a lot of ways you can do this. If you already know your ICP, you probably don't need to go do all of these steps, but a few ways you can do this is Reddit forums, LinkedIn, Facebook, Discord, and you want to pay attention to specific questions, because these can equal content ideas. So obviously a great one for this is Reddit. Everyone's asking questions on Reddit. If you can see a whole bunch of people asking the same question, it would probably be a good video idea, right? Identify their language and terminology. So it's the exact same thing with paid ads. And this is why I always make this, comparison, because paid ads is just an extension of organic. You want to speak in the exact same way that the person you're trying to target speaks. And, this is why I say paid ads, because that's such an important thing in paid ads. It's so emphasized in there. Like with paid ads, if you're running ads to roofers, you want to actually be in front of Home Depot. You want to speak in their language. You want it to really resonate with them as soon as they see it. But for some reason, when people look at YouTube content, they never look at it the same way in terms of we need to have the exact same level of strategy and level of thinking towards our content. People just, half-ass it, and that's not what gets results. So you want to identify their language and terminology and who are influencers they trust. Because what we're going to do here, once we've identified these influencers, is, we're going to create content referencing them. We're going to use their strategies in our videos in terms of referencing them and creating some top of funnel videos where we address and use their name in the title. So that's something we always like to figure out. Reverse engineering and unique positioning. So the framework we like to do here is we want to transform pains/fears into video topics, as I said. So once you have these pains, fears, and desires written out, now we're going to look at actually creating videos around these. And this is the framework that we like to use. So pain/fears can become video topics, as I said. Desires and motivators as stories within the videos, because you can actually use storytelling elements to tap into these. And then you want to create a spreadsheet mapping pain points to video solutions. So you can either do this in a spreadsheet, as I said, or in a Gamma document, whatever choice of document you want to use, but you want to make sure that you're mapping these out, right? Because these are going to become video ideas. And what I like to do, especially when mapping out these video ideas first, because the first thing that needs to come to mind is the idea and the pain point to solution, right? So you want to map these out in a simple formula, which is how to do X. Simple. Most of the time you're not going to only create videos with the title how to do. These are great for SEO, but at some point we want to find outlier title formats and then use that to create the video. what I like to do is literally list out like 10 how to, and each and every single one is how to solve X pain point with Y thing. And what this does, it allows you to just understand, okay, what are we trying to solve and how do we do it? So example here, the pain is getting clients. So now we write a video, how to actually get clients from YouTube in 2026. Pretty simple, right? This is nothing crazy, but just write these out, because now you can have a list of whether it's 4, 8, 12, 16, however many it is, of simple titles that solve big problems for your ICP. And that's just gonna make the ideation process so much simpler. Now, moving on to unique positioning. And this is how we actually are gonna go about creating a YouTube channel that's not just going to be left in the void and just get no views and you're just one of the other guys in your niche. We need to create unique positioning. So don't just copy your competitors, study what works and what doesn't. And we want to look for opportunity gaps and then create contrast between your content and others. So a lot of the time your unique positioning can come down to things like experience. And this is why marketing is such a funny thing, because for one person, them being the young guy, them being the new kid on the block, whether it's something like bread scales or whatever it is, that is your unique positioning. That's what makes people buy from you. Then if we were working with a client who's a bit older, we will put their unique positioning as how much experience they have, why they shouldn't work with the young kid on the block. And now we're creating content with titles like X years of advice in Y minutes. Now that's a pretty common one if you've studied some outliers. And now we're creating content that's really showcasing them as an expert and someone who's done this so many years, and that's what we're building their brand around. Obviously that's just one element of coming up with the unique positioning, the experience. I'm just giving an example of you need to identify what things are that make you qualified and what things people would resonate with who you're trying to sell to. And then we're going to use that as a marketing angle. Now, once you've got your unique positioning dialed, we want to figure out exactly how we're going to create video ideas that your ICP are actually going to watch. And it's not as simple as, just finding outliers or just doing keyword research. There's a bit more to it. So the first way is obviously, outliers, as I said. But where most people go wrong with outliers is they don't understand total addressable market. And this is TAM. So what they'll do is they'll copy any outlier they see from their competitor or, from someone else in a different industry, create a video around it, and then it doesn't get in the right people. Maybe it gets some views and everyone, does not buy from you. So what you need to do is really understand these marketing fundamentals. So first of all, there are two ways to create outliers. There is execute proven concepts better. And the way you can do this is by having templates, frameworks, or simplified language, whatever it is. If they did that video, we're going to do it better. Then there's fill market gaps first. And you want to monitor trends, keyword search volume. So that's another way to do it. Now, monitoring trends is becoming so big, especially in the space, because new things are dropping every single week, and the main example I see with this that people are crushing it, and we've implemented some of this for our clients, where we actually set up Google Analytics emails so that I get pinged every single time there's a new change in AI, because it's just changing so fast. And if you're the first person to create a video on the new AI software that drops, great example of this was Claude that happened recently. For anyone that's a bit confused, not to be confused with like Claude itself, this is Claude bot, CLAWD bot. And what this was an AI that essentially just ran on its own. You put it into a computer and it just does stuff. And everyone was freaking out about the security implications. And people were just creating videos around this and literally just getting 100x outliers because they were the first ones on the block. We created a video for a client for this and got a 7x outlier. So it's pretty simple, but you need to be on top of what's going on in your industry. And AI isn't the only space, right? We have another client in the business funding world, and there's always things going on in terms of banks making changes to whatever it is, changes to funding law, changes to credit. We create some videos around credit cards. So if you're not the first person to create these videos, you're going to get ran through by the competitor who's actively monitoring these things. And that's why I say video ideation can't be as simple as, hey, here's an outlier, let's go copy it. You actually need to be looking at your industry, looking at what's actually going on right now, because things are changing so fast and you need to be the first person to get those videos if you really want to succeed. So now let's talk about SOM, SAM, and TAM, right? So at the top level, we have people actively looking to buy right now. And as you can see, this part of the pyramid is smaller because there's going to be less people that are actively, wanting to buy your service right now. Then we have SAM, which is people who could use your service. This is potential people who aren't necessarily looking for it right now, but they're in that industry and it could be something they need down the line. Then we have TAM, everyone you can help. So this is total addressable market, as I said. And you need to understand who you're trying to target with each video, because that's going to affect how many people you actually reach. If you're creating a video that's targeted to TAM, it's going to be broad. So, let's look at some examples. So get clients online is broad, huge TAM, low conversion. So as a general principle, when you're talking to total addressable market and you go pretty broad, you might get a lot more views, but you'll get low conversions. And this is why As I said, just creating outliers based on the fact of them being outliers isn't always the best strategy. You need to understand your fundamentals and you need to understand what types of people you're bringing in, because that's going to affect a variety of things. If you create a lot of top of funnel broad videos that get views on the channel and they subscribe, now you've got a whole channel of subscribers who aren't even qualified. They're going to watch your videos. YouTube's going to see who these people are, promote the videos to more people just like that. And now you're just getting more and more unqualified people, which is pretty useless, right? Then we have YouTube funnel. So this is an example for me. So it's more specific, smaller audience, high intent. And someone who's searching this up is probably either one, they're one of these guys who's a competitor and they're trying to see who's creating content, or it's someone who's actually understands how this shit works. And as I said, it's the same thing with ads. I want to create content for the business owner who already knows YouTube works. I'm not here to convince you of it. And at this point, if you're someone in the online space and you've seen people succeeding, you know it works. So I'm trying to create content that speaks specifically to this type of person who is high intent. Now, if we combine these two into a title called How to Get Clients from YouTube, it's very specific and it has the highest buying intent. So anyone searching this up on YouTube, if I've SEO optimized my videos correctly and my videos are popping up, there's a very high likelihood that someone watches that video and potentially books a call because they're looking for a solution. This is a problem that they have. They need it to be solved and now they have a good chance of working with you. And this is exactly what we implemented with Stedman here. So we did some research and figured out that this was the main thing that people are searching for, which is how to start a funding business. So if you're someone who's looking to start this business model and you're searching this up, it's pretty clear what you're trying to do. You want a training on how to actually start it. So what did we do? We created a full course, a 1-hour video, which shows exactly step-by-step how to do that. And what happened? This video made him $28,000. Pretty simple. Create videos that have high intent behind it. And the goal here is niche virality. We're not trying to make you famous. We're not trying to get you millions of views. We want the right views from the right people. So as I said, a video like this with 7,200 views at this point is niche virality, because in his space, he ranks #1 for that search term. He's one of the most well-known guys in the space for that specific topic. And that's what these videos are helping him do. And that is the goal here, because 5,000 views can literally make you $30,000. Like, it's pretty simple. And if we're doing that every single month, you're going to make a lot more money. So now you understand the fundamentals of how you're going to come up with your video ideas. But now the next thing is figuring out the framework that we're actually going to use in terms of what types of videos we're going to create. And that's where the YouTube to Clients content framework comes into play. So there are 3 specific types of content you want to be creating, and each of them serves a specific purpose. So the first type of content is top of funnel videos, and these are for awareness and reach. The next type is middle funnel content. This is for consideration and education. And then we have bottom of funnel content, which is for conversion and decision. And each stage serves a specific purpose in moving prospects towards a buying decision. So Stage 1, top of funnel content. Let's talk a bit more about this. As I said, the purpose is to attract new eyeballs. And examples of this we have written here are, one that I like out of these 3 is how I went from broke to millionaire in 6 months. So what you can do is actually make this align with your niche a bit more. We have a client we actually did this with who is in the real estate niche. He created a video literally called How Wholesale Real Estate Made Me a Millionaire, in brackets, My Story. And these My Story videos are essential if you're running a coaching program, info product, anything like that. As an agency owner, I'm not going to create a video like this realistically, because the business owners watching this type of video probably don't care and they don't want to watch 10 minutes about my story. So it wouldn't align with the people I'm trying to target. But if you're selling some sort of coaching program, whether it's in the business space, it really doesn't matter. It works extremely well in the business space, like BizOp, because if you're talking to beginners under 10K a month and you're telling them your story about how you went from broke to millionaire, that's going to resonate with them and it's going to paint a picture of, hey, I can do it too. So that works extremely well. 5 morning habits of a 7-figure agency owner. This can work if you're targeting other agency owners, if you have like an agency coaching program, something like that. Why most B2B businesses fail in the first 2 years. Once again, this could be like a talking off the dome, top of funnel video. Another one that we have that we really like to do is called name jacking strategy. Essentially, as I said before, once you've identified people of influence in your industry, especially on YouTube already, you can then leverage them, within these YouTube video titles and as video ideas. So you can create response videos to trending content and comparison content without creating enemies. So one we like to do is, if it's in the business space, we create one like Alex Hormozi's advice on X thing. So it's like Alex Hormozi's advice on e-commerce, on YouTube, whatever it is. We created one similar for a client. It was actually for the same client I said before. We did another Outlier video where we were in like the psychology niche, and we did Jordan Peterson's advice on X thing. I think it was stress management. I can't quite remember. But the main thing is we identified that, Jordan Patterson was someone that our ICP are actively watching. They watch a lot of his podcasts, his videos, whatever that may be. Then we leverage that in the title. Then, as I said, use Google Trends and exploding topics. So this is just about staying on track of what's actually working. So these top of funnel videos where it's like what's going on in your space, most of the time they are top of funnel. People aren't going to buy from these videos. You're going to get more views, but they are an essential part of the strategy. And then obviously YouTube SEO, figuring out, what terms of high search volume and low competition. It's always a great way to come up with new video ideas. And depending on what type of question it is that these people are searching for, that'll, depend on what type of video it's going to become. And for these top of funnel videos, typically what I say is 8 to 15 minutes. That's kind of like the sweet spot, mainly because these are people who are going to be watching this video who have no idea who you are. And they're probably not going to sit down and watch a 1 hour video like this one if they've never seen any of your content before. Now it does happen. We grew a lot of people from that Stedman video, but that wasn't a top of funnel video. So they watched this 1 hour free course, even though new people were coming to it, because it was heavily value based, they watched through the whole thing. So if you're going to create a top of funnel video, which is a video that people are seeing you for the first time, probably some of you guys watching this video are seeing me for the first time, it needs to be a lot of value. You can't create a top of funnel video that's like kind of just on the broad spectrum of content and expect people to watch through 1 hour of it. It's not going to make sense. So for the most part, stick to this. So stage 2, middle of funnel content. And as I said, the purpose is consideration and education, and we want to build trust. So examples of this, and this is a solid outlier topic if you wanted to just ever steal one. The new way to get SMMA clients in 2026. So you can say the new way to do pretty much anything. 7 B2B lead qualification questions that save hundreds of hours. 5 lead generation strategies for coaches that still work. So the main thing here is you want to go a bit deeper than the top of funnel videos and just be a bit more specific with what you're actually trying to solve, what problems you're trying to solve for the viewer. And the framework we want to do here is problem, solution, result. Pretty simple. One of the strategies we like to do is, and this is meant to say incompleteness, strategic incompleteness model. And what we do here is we show the process, but we don't exactly show them the how, right? So this is like a pretty common thing that you've probably heard, show the why, but hold back the how. So this can work depending on your industry. As I said, we like to do it sometimes. A lot of the time also, like, you can show people everything and they won't even do it. Like, you can give everyone the free strategies, but as I said, all information is available on the internet. They're going to pay you anyway for the implementation if obviously that's what you sell. And in terms of what ratio you should be doing for these types of videos, so we generally say a 3-to-1 ratio. For every 3 videos that are educational, you can mention your offer 1 time, and this is like at the end of the video. We always have in the outro a call to action where you either go watch another video or you pitch the program. You don't want to pitch your program at the end and hard sell them every single time. You only want to do that when you provided a lot of value. And then we have stage 3, which is bottom of funnel content, and the purpose here is conversion and decision. So there's a few things we like to do here, and these are all very essential. If you miss and don't do this stage of the funnel right, you're going to completely ruin your YouTube funnel strategy and you're not going to get any conversions. So the first type here is case studies and client interviews. So I have one on my channel which is an interview with a client saying how he made money from YouTube, and we like to use the before and after storytelling format when we're doing these. So you always want to say before and after. So when you actually ask the questions within, let's say it's a client interview, you want to get a sense from them where they were before and then ask them how it's like after working with you. So a few questions we like to ask is, what was your time commitment in the process? What was your process like before we came into the business? What kind of results have you seen since we started working together? Would you recommend us to anyone who's on the fence? These types of questions that elicit strong and positive responses, from the person you're interviewing, those are always going to be pretty great. And you want to get answers from them that answer specific metrics, and we call these transformation metrics. So an obvious one is revenue. Another one is time saved, stress reduced, team size changes, whatever it is. We want to make sure that you're actually getting answers from the person you're interviewing on these metrics. So another few question examples are, what were you skeptical about? What would you tell anyone on the fence, as I said? And then the next type of video is your YouTube VSL. So these are the main 2 types. We have the social proof content, and then we have your full course YouTube VSL. Now, there are other ways to create YouTube VSLs, and this is what I try to emphasize. The full course one is one of the formats that work well, because there are a lot of different formats on YouTube. A VSL is just a video sales letter. So there are many different ways you can execute a video sales letter. A really creative example that I actually saw very recently was, I forgot the guy's name, but he created this video tried it for Jeremy Haynes, and I think they just did one for Brez Scales. The original one was for Samir, the ecom dropshipping guy, I forgot what his surname is. But what the video was essentially a 20v1 in the same format as Jubilee does their videos, where it's like 20 conservatives versus 1 liberal, whatever it is, right? And they did this video, which was 1 millionaire business owner versus 20 college students or 9-to-5 workers, something like that. And the way the video worked was Samir would say something like e-com is the best business model to start, and then they would just disagree, and he would answer what they're saying and basically just solve their objection and show them why it's a great business model, whatever these questions are. And throughout the whole video, the viewers watching it and getting entertained, but what's actually happened is he's answering these questions and solving their objections and actually proving to them why what he does is legit. So this is a creative example of a YouTube VSL. There's many other formats you can do. A general structure to look at is obviously starting off with an attention grabbing hook, problem identification, solution introduction, credibility building, offer presentation, objection handling, and a call to action. That's like a general structure. You always want to make sure, no matter what format it is, you're following this. Now, once you've decided what types of bottom of funnel content you're going to be creating, the next step is extremely important, and most people completely mess this up, and that is the CTA plus selling strategy. And here's what you actually want to do. So CTA placement, this is a bit more on the practical side. You want to have it in the top of your description, you want to have it in the pinned comment, and then also 1/3 through the video. And this is a call to action where you say, hey, by the way, if you want help implementing everything in this video, you can click the link in the description, book a call, whatever it is. And then obviously, if this is a bottom of funnel video, as I said, you can have your call to action at the end. So you want to have it in all 4 of these places. And a key phrase we like to use when doing these CTAs, and this kind of goes back to the strategy of showing the why but not the how, is you have everything for free on my channel, but if you want implementation and results faster, here's how we can work together. Because there's no point of hiding it. Everything is for free. All the information is there, but they're going to pay to work with you. Pretty simple. People pay for accountability, community, systems, direct access to the expert. So if you can actually provide a whole bunch of value, they're going to think, oh shit, if this guy's free content is this good, imagine what's in his paid. And whether or not it's more source, whether it's actually that good, or maybe it's on the same level as the free stuff. Either way, if you give away enough free stuff, they're gonna think, oh shit, this stuff is so good, I want to find out what he actually has in this paid program. That's always a great way to look at it. Now we're getting to a section that everyone loves and everyone likes to learn about, which is video packaging, specifically titles and thumbnails. And the critical truth here is that the first impression often is more important than the actual content itself for getting views. So this is why people lean towards always going with Outlier, is because they're proven formatting and proven video packaging. So there's a whole bunch of outlier topics you can actually choose from. And just to give you a few examples here, how to start X business model in X years of industry experience / knowledge in Y minutes. I made X with this business model, the new way to achieve X. So as I said, there's hundreds and hundreds of outlier topics and proven formats that you can use, but not all of them are going to be working for your niche. So thumbnail psychology, and this kind of goes into what we're actually doing with the packaging. So corporate thumbnails kill CTR. If your thumbnail looks basic and boring, you're not going to get results because nobody clicks stock photos in suits. What they want is these 3 essential elements. Element 1 is a human element. So this is you either showing emotion or blank face. We've tested both across the business space. So if you are in the business space, you can definitely do blank face emotion. If you're doing entertainment, obviously you want to have some facial expression to that. That's just going to come down to seeing what's working in your industry specifically and seeing what your competitors are doing. And then the next thing is clear text. So it should complement the title, not repeat it. And that's a big thing that most people do wrong when I check out their titles and thumbnails, is that they say the exact same thing. And that's what we want to avoid. There needs to be a correlating message that would, indicating and getting across with both, but it shouldn't be the same thing. And then the last thing here is visual contrast. Make it actually eye-catching, make it scroll-stopping. So in terms of a few best practices that you can do for your thumbnails, so color psychology. Blue is great for trust and professionalism, red is good for urgency, and yellow is good for attention. So what I would do, in terms of A/B testing, create 2 to 3 variations and test for 48 to 72 hours minimum. Within the last year, YouTube dropped a feature for auto thumbnail testing, which is very useful. Kind of makes it easier for everyone to do this. Before, we had to manually go and change the thumbnails every 24 hours, whatever it is. But for anyone now, just create 2 to 3 variations and you can test that. Some more best practices: less is always more, 3 elements or less, create contrast with colors that pop, make thumbnail ask question that title solves, and clarity beats creativity every single time. The curiosity gap technique, which works extremely well, is the thumbnail should create the question, the title should partially answer it, and viewers must click for the full story. So that's always like a framework just to look at your title and thumbnail. Is the thumbnail creating intrigue and creating a question that the viewer has in their mind, or the person who might click on it? Does the title give them some information in terms of what the actual answer is going to be, and does it create more curiosity for them to actually click, and then they have to go watch the video? And just a note for the hook has to then align with what you've shown in the title and the thumbnail. Otherwise, they're just going to click off after 5 seconds. So avoid redundancy, put numbers in the title, this always works, and emotional triggers in the thumbnail. So once you've actually managed to get the click, everyone thinks they've now won, but the most important part here is the hook. And if the hook sucks, you're never going to be successful on YouTube. So the reality is 15 to 30 seconds to hook viewers before they click away. Now, people's attention spans have dropped dramatically probably in the last 5 years. This is realistically more like 5 seconds or even 3 seconds that you have to hook someone before they hook off. So the first line of that hook is so important. But here's the 3-part hook formula. So part 1 is target audience and credibility. We have an example here. If you're an SMMA owner struggling to get clients, this is for you. At 20, I'm making 50K per month. That's, what you're doing is you're calling them out and you're showing your credibility, why, you're qualified to talk about this. Then you want to set clear expectations. What will they actually learn in this video? And then also create stakes. So stick around until the end for this exact outreach strategy. And the main framework, you want to look at your hooks and really use that to figure out, is this a good hook? It's the show versus tell framework. So the wrong way to be writing hooks is saying something like SMMA is so easy. We're using the SMMA example. The right way to do it is here, where we're saying at 20, I'm making 50K per month from SMMA. Because then they think, oh, that means it must be easy, right? Obviously it's not, but we want them, to maybe think that so they can buy our program. So the main thing is you want them to come to these conclusions on their own. You don't want to be the one trying to force these ideas down their throat. And once you have the hook dialed, we now need to structure our body and the meat of the video in the correct way, so we're actually keeping people engaged throughout the video. And there's a few things you can do here. So one thing I've got written here is side questing and having multiple payoffs. And you do this by having open loops. And what open loops are is essentially where you are introducing a new section, you're introducing a new idea, and you're explaining why it's actually valuable. So an example of this was if I had to start talking about video scripting, I would say something, before I get into topic, which is video scripting is the most important part. Let me explain why. So now we've created intrigue, and now we're actually going to get someone to actually watch it because we're emphasizing how it is extremely important. Now, I wouldn't frame it and say it in that exact way. That's the general idea of what an open loop is doing. You're creating intrigue, and then you need a closed open loop at the end once you've actually shown the solution. So in terms of your video structure, there's a simple 3-part section structure that you can always use. So the setup is, as I said, introducing a topic. Then we have the story, which is building tension and presenting the problem. And then we have the resolution, which is delivering the lesson/insight. And the structure that you use is going to change depending on the type of video. So if it's a step-by-step how-to video on how to do something, whether it's like how to set up a Facebook ads campaign step-by-step, what you're going to do is obviously chronological steps with supporting points. Then if it's a life story video, you want to start with a flash forward, show the struggles, then the discovery, then the growth, then you want to present success. And if it's a VSL, you're explaining the opportunity and presenting the opportunity first, then you're saying who it's for, then you're saying your unique approach, then you're presenting social proof, then you're presenting the options that someone can do once they have all this information and they know what the opportunity is and they know whether it's for them. So depending on what type of video this is, the structure is always going to change. There is no one shoe fits all in this scenario, kind of just figuring out what we're trying to achieve with the video and structuring according to that. And that's why there's always a lot of custom stuff that goes into scripting a YouTube video for a client, because it's not as simple as here's exactly how we do it every single time. Now getting into some more advanced stuff that you can actually do within your video, and these are like small optimizations that if you're already having some success and you want to really tap into some wording and rhetoric and word choice psychology, this is what we like to do, right? So the first one is accessibility. So what you want to do is, if you are selling something, like we're going to go back to the Brez Scales offer example where you're selling a biz op to, for the most part, young people, and he's a college dropout. So by saying if college dropouts are making millions, basically what we're doing is we're saying that anyone can do it. Most people have a barrier in their mind to who can do it, but what we want to do is make it seem like it's accessible to anyone. Anyone's able to achieve this. Then we have overcoming objections. The next one here is overcoming objections. So a way you can do this is in your hooks throughout your video. Let's say it's something like, I had 0 tech skills and still achieved XYZ. So a lot of people will come up with excuses like, hey, I don't have the experience. Hey, I don't have the expertise. So what what you want to do is actually answer this objection based on what you've actually been able to achieve. And then the last one here is lowering barriers. So all you need is a laptop and Wi-Fi. Once again, it's kind of people come up with excuses of why they can't achieve a thing, why they need more things in order to get started. And by saying all you need is laptop and Wi-Fi, they say, most people have that, I can actually achieve this. And the main way you want to look at your videos is your videos are direct response copy in disguise. That's why I always make the example of comparing what works with ads into your YouTube videos. Ads are just shortened versions of YouTube videos in a way. It's a direct offer in ads all the time. Only difference with YouTube is we don't always have a direct offer in that exact video. But the same marketing strategies and marketing principles apply in both. So this leads into word choice by audience. Same thing with ads. If you're targeting a younger demographic, you want to use, words like easy, fast, simple, brain dead, rich. If you're targeting a mature audience, 30 plus, consistent, straightforward, low risk, repeatable, wealthy. Really double down and know who you're targeting and use their language. And this also, applies to tone. So once again, casual, get rich quick focus. If you're in the SMMA space trying to target these people. If you're doing business acquisition, 30 plus, serious, family, legacy, be intentional with every word. That's what I'm really trying to get across here. So I hope you went through all of this, got to the end with a bunch of notes and actually got some value that you can implement onto your channel. But at this point, you basically have three options. Option one, try and implement all of this yourself for your channel, spending the time, money and headache of figuring out all of this step by step, plus all the problems you 100% face if you're doing this for the first time. Option two, try to build an in-house team. Find a good channel strategist, copywriter, thumbnail designer, editor, SEO specialist. But they're extremely hard to find. And even if you do, you'll need to manage all of them individually. Employee training, revisions, and it will most likely be a monumental nightmare. Option three, get help from a team that's generated hundreds of thousands of dollars for countless business owners with our proven YouTube to clients content playbook that handles the entire content funnel system. All for you, A to Z. All you have to do is record the videos, and on top of that, we guarantee an extra 10 to 30 qualified calls per month, or you don't pay. And if we're being honest, if you're not already generating consistent leads from YouTube, then you 100% need help. That's why I want you to click the link in the description where you can book a free consultation with me. This is for you if you want to avoid doing all of this yourself and just want a team of experts to come in and do everything for you. So if that is you, click the link below once again, book your free strategy call, and I'll speak to you soon. Check out the video on screen if you want to learn how Stedman made 40K in 45 days. And make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, if you want to see more videos on YouTube lead generation for businesses. I'll see you in the next one.